Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise on the stories that really matter. And today, well, we're diving headfirst into a political storm brewing right now, August 24th, 2025, in Bihar. It's become the absolute epicenter of a major controversy shaking things up across India. We're talking about the Special Intensive Revision, the SIR, of electoral rules. Now, normally, keeping voter lists up to date is, just standard administrative work. Essential for democracy, sure, but usually not front page news. But in Bihar, this routine process has exploded. We're seeing accusations fly, protests erupting, even the Supreme Court stepping in. This isn't just bureaucracy gone wild. It feels like a critical moment, especially with state assembly elections coming up later this year. It really makes you question things about, well, democratic participation itself.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we want to do in this deep dive, give you the clearest possible picture of what's going on. We're aiming to slice through all the political spin, the conflicting reports. We'll unpack what this SIR thing actually is, look closely at why the Supreme Court got involved, which is pretty significant. We'll analyze the political tug of war and, crucially, figure out what it all means for you, the voter. Not just in Bihar, I think, but really across India. It's about understanding the systems that are supposed to protect your vote, but sometimes, well, seem to challenge it.
Okay, let's get into the SIR itself then. We know accurate voter lists are fundamental, but this special intensive revision in Bihar, it's turned into a real political battle. What exactly makes this revision so charged?
Well, fundamentally, the SR is the Election Commission's the ECI's standard tool. It's meant to keep the lists clean. Remove names of people who've passed away, catch duplicates, people who've moved out of the constituency, and importantly, register new eligible voters, first-time voters, for example. But it's not random. It's all governed by laws like the Representation of the People Act, 1950, and the Registration of Electors Rules, 1960. These are foundational. And these rules are critical because they don't just say how to do it. They also outline how citizens can challenge being removed. That's why transparency, this whole thing, is so incredibly important, especially now in Bihar.
Right, so there's a legal framework. It's supposed to be routine. But then we hit this number, the scale of deletions. That seems to be where it all kicks off.
Exactly. That's the flashpoint. We're talking about roughly 65 lakh names removed from the draft roll. That's 6.5 million. A number that large, well, it just shifts the whole conversation. It stops being about routine cleaning and starts feeling like something else. It forces you to ask, is this just efficient admin, or is something else going on? Could it, even unintentionally, disenfranchise a huge number of people? Especially when you think about, the diverse reality on the ground in India. That 6.5 million isn't just a data point. It's really the fuse that lit this whole controversy.
And that fuse lit a political firestorm pretty quickly. The opposition parties reacted strongly. What are they actually accusing the ECI of doing here? How are they framing it?
The main charge, coming from parties like Congress, the RJD, Samajwadi Party, Trinamool Congress, it's voter suppression. Straight up. They're alleging this isn't a neutral cleanup. They believe it's deliberately targeting certain communities, specifically minorities, marginalized groups. And the goal, they claim, is to give an unfair advantage to the ruling NDA coalition, which is led by the BJP. The concern is so deep, they're actually framing the SIR as a kind of backdoor way to bring in a National Register of Citizens and NRC for Bihar. And the NRC, as you know, carries a lot of historical baggage and anxiety.
And these weren't just abstract political arguments, were they? These concerns seem to have struck a real chord with people on the ground.
Oh, definitely. You had leaders like Asaduddin Owaisi from AMIM making a really powerful point. He argued that asking for extensive documents, things like proof of your parents' birthplace, puts an enormous unfair burden on marginalized voters, people who might just not have that kind of paperwork going back generations. We saw similar points made online, too. Dr. Shamal Mohammed, for instance, highlighted on X, Twitter, the real struggle for people in villages, especially in rural Bihar. Many rely almost solely on their Aadhaar card. They just don't possess the multiple other documents that were apparently being asked for in some cases. This isn't theory. It's a practical nightmare for potentially millions.
Which explains the intensity. It escalated beyond statements. On August 11th, wasn't it? We saw those dramatic scenes in Delhi, opposition leaders, Rahul Gandhi included, actually getting detained by police during a march, right to the ECI's doorstep. They were demanding the SR be completely withdrawn. It felt like more than just politics. It was a very visible stand against what they saw as an attack on voting rights.
But then you have the other side. The BJP pushed back hard. Their narrative is completely different. They accuse the opposition of spreading misinformation. And crucially, they claim the opposition is trying to protect infiltrators, illegal immigrants, simply to shore up their vote banks. Union Minister Dharmendra Pradhan was quite blunt. He called Congress directionless, accused them directly of shielding illegal immigrants, and specifically mentioned Bangladeshi and Rohingya communities. So from their perspective, the SIR isn't suppression at all. It's a vital step for national security and ensuring only legitimate citizens vote.
And this wasn't just a one-off comment from the BJP, right? It seems to fit into a broader pattern. Just days before, on Independence Day, August 15th, Prime Minister Modi announced this high-powered demography mission, explicitly aimed at tackling illegal immigration. He warned about infiltrators being a security threat. And then Sambit Patra really upped the ante, didn't he? Challenging opposition-run states like West Bengal and Telangana to dissolve their own governments if they doubted the ECI's impartiality. How does that wider context play into this?
It shows very clearly how the SIR is being deliberately woven into a larger national narrative. By linking this voter list revision to infiltrators and national security, the BJP lifts it out of the realm of just administrative procedure. It becomes an ideological battleground. Patra's challenge, well, it essentially tries to use the ECI's authority as a political weapon, implying that questioning the SIR process is somehow questioning the national interest itself. That kind of talk dramatically raises the stakes. It turns what should be an electoral housekeeping task into a debate about who belongs in India.
Okay, so we have these incredibly polarized views. One side screaming suppression, the other talking infiltrators. Then the Supreme Court steps in. That felt like a really pivotal moment. Beyond just the specifics of the ruling, do you think this signals a kind of fundamental shift in how the ECI operates, or was it more a targeted fix for this very specific, very hot situation in Bihar?
Probably more the latter, I'd say. A targeted intervention aimed squarely at ensuring transparency and accountability because the situation had become so contested. The ruling came on August 22nd, just days before those latest BJP accusations, interestingly. And it had two key parts, both really aimed at fairness. First, the ECI must publish the list of all 65 lakh deleted names. That's huge for transparency. It means people can actually check if they're on it, and it gives them a clear process to appeal if they think they've been wrongly removed. It gives them recourse. Second, the court clarified the Aadhaar issue. It said Aadhaar can be used as proof of identity and residence for getting back on the list. But, and this is important, alongside other documents, it wasn't declared the only proof needed.
And the opposition immediately claimed victory, didn't they? I remember seeing TMC MP Sagarika Gho's tweet about it being a win for the inalienable right to vote. It felt like validation for their concerns. Like the court agreed the process needed watching.
Yes, that was definitely the reaction from the opposition camp. But the BJP very quickly put out their own interpretation. Amit Malviya from the BJP's IT cell jumped in to stress that the Supreme Court absolutely did not say Aadhaar is proof of citizenship for voter registration. He was crystal clear. Aadhaar proves identity, yes. It proves residence, yes. But it does not prove you're an Indian citizen. And that distinction is vital. Citizenship is still the fundamental requirement under the Representation of the People Act. Plus, let's not forget, the Aadhaar Act itself from 2016 explicitly states it's not proof of citizenship. So Aadhaar helps answer, who are you and where do you live? But not the crucial, are you an Indian citizen eligible to vote? Question.
Right. We've heard these powerful clashing stories, but for listeners trying to make sense of it all, we need to try and separate the political noise from the actual facts on the ground. What does the evidence really tell us about these big claims?
Good question. Let's take the first big claim. The opposition saying the SIR is a backdoor NRC. Well, the ECI's consistent line is that this is routine. They do revisions like this across the country. It's not unique to Bihar, they argue. And the existing rules, the 1960 electors rules, do allow for these kinds of intensive revisions to keep lists accurate. Now, is documentation a real challenge for some people? Absolutely, that's undeniable. But is there hard evidence showing the SIR was designed specifically to function as an NRC and target certain groups? Not really, not concrete evidence. And the Supreme Court stepping in adds that layer of oversight, demanding transparency, which sort of pushes back against the idea of it being a completely hidden agenda.
Okay, what about the other side? The BJP claim that the opposition is shielding infiltrators. They point to the 65 lakh deletions, suggesting many are fake, dead, Bangladeshi, Rohingya. Yeah. Amit Malviya also highlighted that only about 84,000 objections were filed, like 1.3% of deletions. He implies this proves most removals were justified.
Yeah, that's their argument. But here's where it gets tricky. To really know who those 65 lakh people are, demographically speaking, you'd need detailed data from the ECI. Data showing age, location, maybe community background, reason for deletion. And the ECI hasn't released anything like that. They haven't publicly confirmed finding large numbers of foreign nationals. Honestly, getting that kind of granular data for 6.5 million people during a large-scale administrative process while respecting privacy, it's incredibly difficult. So while the BJP makes a strong political claim about infiltrators, based on the public information available right now, it remains an assertion. It's powerful rhetoric, but not yet a verified fact backed by released data.
So let's hammer this Aadhaar point one last time, just to be absolutely clear. The Supreme Court basically said, yes, Aadhaar helps prove who you are and where you live when you're trying to get back on a list, but it does not, on its own, prove you're an Indian citizen eligible to vote. That still requires potentially other checks or documents, aligning with the Aadhaar Act and ECI rules.
Exactly. That distinction is absolutely crucial. Now, this brings up another point. What about other kinds of alleged fraud? There was that ex post you mentioned, citing an Aadhaar investigation, claiming dead fake names were being added while real ones got removed. But looking at the source material for this deep dive, there wasn't concrete evidence presented from that investigation to back up those specific claims about new fake names being added wholesale, which loops back to why the Supreme Court's order is so important. Making the ECI publish the list of deleted names creates transparency. It allows people to check, to appeal. It helps separate legitimate cleanup from potential errors or even deliberate manipulation, if that were occurring. It provides a mechanism for verification.
This goes way beyond just political point scoring, doesn't it? It touches the very core of our democracy, the right to vote. So let's bring it home. What does all this mean for you, the listener, the ordinary citizen? Why should you care about this deep dive?
Because it directly impacts individuals profoundly. Imagine you're a farmer, maybe in a village near Patna or somewhere near Gaya, or perhaps a teacher working hard in Muzaffarpur. You've voted your whole life. You see it as your duty. You're right. Then, one day, poof, your name's not on the list. You're asked for papers you might simply not have. A birth certificate from 50 years ago, proof of where your parents were born. For so many people, the elderly, the poor, people from marginalized communities, this isn't just inconvenient. It's genuinely frightening. It feels like your voice is being taken away. You can absolutely see why the opposition's protests, talking about disenfranchisement, resonate so strongly with those real, tangible fears. The system meant to enable your vote suddenly feels like a barrier.
That's a powerful image, the fear of being unfairly excluded. But then there's the other side of the coin, isn't there? The need for electoral integrity, the idea that the list should be clean.
Precisely. And that's a perfectly valid concern, too. A clean, accurate voter list means only eligible citizens are shaping Bihar's political future. It prevents ghost voters, stops people voting in multiple places, ensures non-residents aren't participating, removing names of the deceased or duplicates. That's essential housekeeping for any democracy. Nobody disputes that. But again, it comes back to that number, 6.5 million deletions. That scale just naturally and rightly raises eyebrows. It demands serious scrutiny. The Supreme Court's intervention provides a crucial safety valve, a way for those wrongly removed to get back in. But for that safety valve to work, the process itself has to feel fair. It has to be transparent, easy to navigate, and critically, it can't put impossible hurdles in front of genuine voters. If the process is seen as opaque or unfair, it just chips away at public trust in the whole democratic exercise. And that's damaging in the long run.
So zooming out one last time, this SIR fight isn't happening in isolation. It's pouring fuel on an already burning fire, the high-stakes battle for Bihar's 2025 assembly elections, NDA versus the NDIA bloc. How does this electoral context just complicate everything further?
Oh, massively. This is where administration and politics collide head-on. The BJP's constant talk about infiltrators, it's not just about Bihar. It connects to a national story they're telling about security, about changing demographics. We've heard similar rhetoric in Assam, in West Bengal. It's a political strategy. It rallies their base. It shapes how people think about who belongs. But as we said, without clear public data, it risks dividing communities and sowing mistrust. On the other side, you have the opposition's Vote Chori, Vote Theft campaign with Rahul Gandhi leading the charge. That's designed to mobilize voters around fairness, around protecting the rights of the vulnerable. But their specific allegations about targeting minorities, especially Muslims, taps into those really deep, complex fault lines of caste and religion that are always present in Bihar politics. So every single administrative step, no matter how routine it's supposed to be, gets viewed through this intense political lens. It makes ensuring genuine fairness incredibly difficult.
It really feels like this Bihar situation is a perfect snapshot, a microcosm of Indian democracy itself. Vibrant, passionate, sometimes incredibly messy. You've got these competing visions clashing. One side focused on electoral purity, clean lists, integrity. The other fighting passionately for inclusion, making sure every single eligible citizen gets their say.
Absolutely. And the way forward, well, the ECI has a massive responsibility here. They have to ensure this process is fair, transparent, and truly inclusive. Fix the errors, yes, but without creating impossible barriers.
Yeah.
That Supreme Court order to publish the names, that's a vital step for accountability, a real check. And we can't forget the people on the ground, the booth-level officers, the local officials. They are absolutely crucial in helping people, especially in rural areas, figure out the re-registration process without getting overwhelmed. And for you, the voter, awareness is everything. Check your status. Use the ECI helpline 1950 or their website, eci.gov.in. And please be critical of the information you see flying around. Misinformation is rampant.
And honestly, both political sides need to take a breath. They have a responsibility to lower the temperature. The relentless focus on infiltrators risks pushing communities away, creating division. But equally, the vote theft narrative, if pushed too far without concrete proof, could seriously damage trust in our core democratic institutions, like the ECI itself.
Exactly. At the end of the day, this deep dive into Bihar's voter rolls is really about one fundamental thing: ensuring every eligible citizen can actually use their right to vote. That right is enshrined in our Constitution. It's the bedrock. As the people of Bihar get ready to decide their state's future, the real democratic test is this: can the SIR, if done properly, actually strengthen every single voice? From that farmer near Patna worrying about documents to a student in Muzaffarpur checking their name online. Can it ensure the election truly reflects what the people want without being clouded by political maneuvering and suspicion? We hope this deep dive has given you a clearer understanding of just how complex and vital this issue is and helps you stay informed moving forward.